Daf Chof Ches Amud Aleph, right at the top of the Amud. We're in the middle of the Dion with Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. The Rabbi Yehuda attempting to prove that Bir Chometz is Dafka Sreifa. We rejected the other limudim. Now Chazal Rabbi Yehuda v'dana din acher. Rabbi Yehuda now learns from a different limud as follows. Naiser yeshna b'val teisir. Naiser, not only is there iser of achila, and not only is there an iser of hana, and there's a chiv of kores, but also there's a lav of loy bal teisir. You can't leave it over. If one leaves it over, he's over the lav of leaving it over until the morning. The chametz b'bal teisir. And chametz also, there's an iser of achila and hana, and there's kores. So therefore, ma naiser b'sreifa, just like naiser b'sreifa. So we should say that there's a limud of binyanav of chametz b'sreifa. Chametz also should be b'sreifa. Amruloi, the Chum said, no, you can't learn out from that, because Oshem Toloi v'chatas haba ala sofek l'dvarecha yachichu. Now, we hold, the Chum say, that an Oshem Toloi, if an Oshem Toloi, the meat of an Oshem Toloi is a person has a suffix on something, there's a suffix of kores. For instance, he has just two chatichas, one piece is chela, one piece is shuman. He doesn't know if he ate the chela. Shuman brings an Oshem Toloi. The meat of the Oshem Toloi is to be eaten, but if it's left over, that Rabbi Yehuda holds, Rabbi Yehuda l'shitasa holds, that it's bekfura. That it's not burnt, it's bekfura. And he also holds that a chatas ha'ayf abal sofik. Now, normally a chatas does not come as a sofik. An oila can come as an adova. But a chatas you can't bring as an adova. So normally if a person has a sofik, if he's not sure if he was over something where he was chayv chatas, you can't bring chatas on a sofik. A yoledes, she can bring she has to bring a chatas and an oila. An oila she can bring and al safik al tanai, and she can say if she's a mechoya, let's say she miscarried, she doesn't know if it was a vlad or not a vlad, she can make a tanai and say if she's mechoyeves, it's for the chiv. If not, it's an adova. A chatas you can't bring with an adova. So normally a person is not sure if he's chayiv a chatas or not. You can't bring in a safik, but there's a special gzeres also that the case of a chatas ha'ayif, like a yoledes, is bo ala sofik. But Rabbi Yehuda holds that here also it's not burnt. It's put down to the amma through the drainage pipe. So it's not burnt. So in these cases, it's not burnt. So the chum taina, according to lidvarecha, that you hold that it's not burned. And the Seisus says, the reason Rabbi Yehuda says that they're not burned, he's darshan a pasuk, ki koydeshu, hu b'sreifa, v'lei chatasayif asham toloi b'sreifa. So he has a mute that he's mamayed from the apostle of Kaideshu that these are not bisreifa, that the chatasayif and the asham toli are not bisreifa. So you lidvarecha who hold that it's not bisreifa, then according to you there should be a liuchicha, should be a kasha shehem b'bal teisiru, and they are b'bal teisiru, and it's not bisreifa. Now we hold that it's bisreifa. But according to you, lishitascha, that you hold that these cases are not b'sreifa, so you see you have cases where they cannot be eaten, and where they're asur b'hana, and they're not b'sreifa. So therefore, who says that chametz should be b'sreifa? Sha'anu aimrim b'sreifa, va'ata aimrim b'kvur. We say that it is b'sreifa, but you, l'shitas, hold it's kvura, so therefore you have a kasha. The Rishonim are bothered, the Chachamim, they hold it's b'sreifa, so why, according to the Chachamim, is there not a limud from Naiser? And it's not a pircha according to the Chacham, so why, according to the Chacham, l'shitasam, why is this not a limud? Yes, it's a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda l'shitasam, but why is it not a limud according to the Chachamim? Taisa says that it's not a limud because we learn out, we say that hanaiser, it says hanaiser b'sreifa v'lo yikol yisurim shebeteira b'sreifa, that the rest of the yisurim is dafka hanaiser is b'sreifa, but not other yisurim. Even chametz is not b'sreifa. The Maram says a different pshat. He says that Chum hold that you can't learn out chulin mikachim. By kachim, the din is shreifa, but chametz is chulin. You can't learn out, therefore, that there's a din of shreifa. So after this kasha, Shosek Rabbi Yehuda he had nothing to respond to this. So therefore, he was masking according to his own shita. The shita say that there is no limit, that this is a pircha. So Amar Rav Yosef, there's an expression that people say, Hainu damri hinchi, kafa dechata nagara. The dish, the carpenter, he hollows out a dish. He hollows it out. So that dish, begava nisrav chardla. In that is his tongue is burnt with the mustard that's in that dish. Meaning he made it, and from what he made, he gets burns. Rav Yehuda, it's his shita that Asham Ton Chazabal Saveg or Bekfura not Besreifa. Through his own shita, he has a kasha. Another expression is Amar Abaya Sadana Besadna Yosef. The person who makes the shackles, they shackle the prisoners with shackles. Midvil Yodeh Mishtalim. He is what he made, he gets shackled. Through what he made, he's the one that suffers from it. Rav Amar Giyara Begire Maktel. The arrow maker, the one who makes the arrows, is killed by his arrows. Mitvil Yudei Mishtalim. Through what he makes, through his own handiwork, he is repaid with that. Rav Yehuda Lishitasa, from his own shita, that's where the pircha comes from, the Yehuda Lishitasa. The Gemara continues now analyzing the Seif of the Mishnah. The Chum argue on Rabbi Yehuda, and they say no, that chametz does not necessarily have to be burned. It can either be broken up, crumbled, and thrown into the wind, or thrown into the sea. In Boiler, we have a shaila. What do the Chachamim mean? What do they mean that it's crumbled, thrown to the wind? And similarly, it has to be crumbled and thrown into the yam, meaning even though it's thrown into the yam, it also has to be crumbled prior. Perhaps no. It's mefara, you crumble it and throw it to the wind. But throwing it into the sea, into the water, you don't have to crumble it up. Perhaps it's only in the case of throwing it into the wind where we say that it has to be crumbled. So if we throw it into the water, it's going to disintegrate anyway, and therefore you don't have to crumble it up. Therefore, it will not be necessary to do that, and you don't have to crumble because it will disintegrate anyway. So when it comes to throwing it into the wind, we're afraid, as Rashi explains, that somebody might come upon it and might find it. So therefore, if you just throw it into the wind, we not allow that unless you crumble up first. But if you're throwing it into the waters, then it's going to disintegrate, and you don't have the problem about somebody finding it. The Sassamis explains it differently. He says that whether a person finds it or not, even if it's unlikely that a person finds it, but the fact that a person could find it means that it's not mavur, meaning that if a person could find it and it's intact, shows that it's not removed from the world. So that's not called biur. So that's the shaila. When you throw it into the water, do you have to crumble it up first? Similarly, the Avodah Zarah in the same manner, that Avodah Zarah that you have to be mavatl. So you have to therefore also destroy it. Rabbi Yaisi says you grind it up. It's a metal, it's not crumbled, it's grind it up. And throw it into the wind. Or alternatively throw it into the sea. We have a shayla. Does Rav Yaisi mean that you grind it up and you throw it to the wind? And similarly, it has to be ground up and before you throw it into the sea. Perhaps but you can throw into the sea without first grinding it up. That's the shayla. Rava says mistabra. It's mistabra say avodah zara del yama melech koazla avodah zara that it's thrown into the yama melech. Meaning, as Taisus points out, we see in several places that l'gabay avodah zara, the yam that's mentioned is mentioned specifically yama melech. So therefore, we can assume when it says yam, it means yama melech. So therefore, Avodah Zarah Yam, the reference is when it says Yam is Yam Melech. Now, as we'll see in the Gemara Vayter, it doesn't mean that it can only be done in Yam Melech. As we'll see, we'll explain shortly. But the reference when it says, Rav Yossi says, Shechav Zarah leruach oimat liyam, that the Yam that Rav Yossi is referring to is Yam Melech. So therefore, Avodah Zarah Yam Melech Kazla loy b'shchika. Over there, you don't have to grind it up. People don't travel on the Yam Melech. It's not likely someone will find it. Over there, when it says over there, Mat Liyam, that shchika is not required prior. But chametz l'shayin naharas kazla, but chametz, where it's in other waterways, other rivers, boy pir, you do have to crumble it up because people do travel there more often. Omer le Rav Yosef, no, Adrabi Pramistava, just say the other way. Avodah Zarah, the Misa, Avodah Zarah, which does not dissolve in the water, boy shchika, there it has to be ground up. But chametz, the mametz, which it dissolves, boy pure, you don't have to be mefared. Tanya Kavase the Rabba, Tanya Kavase Rav Yosef. So we have a brisa that supports both of them. Tanya Kavase the Rabba, Hayamal b'midbar, when someone's traveling in the desert. So it says, anyhow, we want to do bir chometz. Mefar v'zer l'ruach, he crumbles it and throws it to the wind. Hayamal b'sfina, or alternatively, he was on a boat, on a ship. Mefarer matal yam. He crumbles it up and throws it into the sea. So you see that even though it's being thrown into the water, into the sea, you still have to be mefared prior. Tanya Gavazid Rav Yosef, we have a right Rav Yosef from the Bryce Hayamalach, but Midbar was in the Midbar, and he wanted to now destroy the Avodah Zarah. It says Sheichek, you grind it up, Zer l'ruach. Hayamalach b'sfina, Sheichek matal yam. So it says similarly, Sheichek matal yam. So we have a brisa that supports both of them. Where you see in the case of Avodah Zarah, it says shchika, that's a kasha to Rabbah. And pirur, and it says by chametz, pirur, which is a kasha to Rav Yosef. Gemara answers, shchika l'Rabbah loy kasha. The case of grinding up the Avodah Zarah is not a kasha to Rabbah because hali yam melach, halashar naharis. Where did it say shchika in the case of Avodah Zarah? That's where he's not throwing into the Yam Melech. As we mentioned before, Tosfos proves from here that when we said by Avodah Zarah Yam Melech, doesn't mean that it has to be in Yam Melech. What it means is that the reference that was mentioned before, the Yam that was mentioned in the case of Avodah Zarah, happens to be Yam Melech. So if it's Yam Melech, he holds, you don't need shchika. Over here, where it says by Avodah Zarah, you need shchika, it's talking where he was throwing it into a waterway that was not the Yam Melech. So since it's more frequently traveled, here you need shchika even by Avodah Zarah. Pirul Rav Yosef loikasha, crumbling grinder Rav Yosef loikasha, habechite habanama. Where the Rav Yosef said by chametz you don't have to crumble it up. That's by bread. That's by namas, by bread. It's going to dissolve. But by chite, it said, then there you do have it. So if it's nama, you don't have to crumble it up because it will dissolve. So by nahama, by bread, that's where he said that you don't have to crumble it. But b'chiti, if you happen to have the kernels of wheat which became chametz, so as the way Rashi explains it, if you have a sack of the wheat, you can't throw the sack into the water. It's not going to dissolve. Over there, then it means crumble. What does it mean crumble? It doesn't mean literally crumble. It means you have to scatter it. You have to now empty the contents of the sack of the bag into the water so that it disperses and it's now not all in one place. That's what it means. So according to Rav Yosef, that when we say that by chametz you have to have pirur, it means when it's not bread, it's not something that will dissolve, it's something like chiti, which is hard, and it has to be scattered. Zok the Mishnah, chametz shel nachri shavuot Pesach. You have chametz of a nachri that was passed over Pesach, that it was in the possession of the Nachri on Pesach, and now it's after Pesach, mutter ba'ano. After Pesach, it's mutter for the Yid to have an o from it, and it can even be eaten, as the Rishonim say. It's not only mutter ba'ano, it can even be eaten. But Sheshel Yisrael, the chametz of a Yisrael, so over Lama Pesach. So he had chametz in his possession. He was over on Bal Yara Bal Yamatzah. That's Aser Ba'ana. It's also Bahanosh and Nemar Lo Yerelcha Sar. It says Lo Yerelcha Sar. So the Rashi explains it is that since the Yid was over on the Isser of Bal Yerah, Bal Yamotza, the Chamim counseled him, gave him a Knas, and therefore the Chamim Shamral of Pesach is also Bahanom. Zok the Gemara Mani Masnisin, who's the time of the Mishnah? Loi Rabbi Yehuda, Loi Rabbi Shimon, Loi Rabbi Yossi HaGlili. It's not either one of them, as we'll see on the next Amud, that it does not stem, it doesn't jive, none of them with the Shita of our Tana the Mishnah.